champions, wrestlers. When you look at any company in the world of professional wrestling, you look at the heavyweight champion. You look at the NWA. Not to be confused with Ice Cube and Dr. Dre. I'm talking about the National Wrestling Alliance. WCW, the WWF, and all of those in between. But we're going to talk about the World Wrestling Federation. And I'm going to talk to you guys about the 5 wrestlers who should have been heavyweight champion. And I mean a heavyweight champion of the world. Actually, WWF, I don't have a WWF belt, but it's the heavyweight title. So, let's go through the list. First of all, one of the wrestlers I feel should have had the WWF title at least once is Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat is one of my brother's favorite wrestlers. The other wrestler that's on this list is going to be when I first got into wrestling, is the one that is going to be next. But with Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, for his career, he put on some of the, if there was a Dave Meltzer scale back in the day, it would be Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. He had some of the 5-star matches, period. And if I say WrestleMania 3, people are like, no shit, Sherlock, of him versus Macho Man Randy Savage. Many people consider that to be one of the greatest wrestling matches of all time. And I can't beg to differ on it because it is. He won the Intercontinental title in that match, of course. And many people thought that maybe he could go for a World Heavyweight title. But unfortunately, it never happened for him in the WWF. He did eventually win heavyweight title gold elsewhere, but in the WWF, I felt he should have been a WWF champion at least once. At least once. Now, the next wrestler is the wrestler that was the first wrestler that I just considered my wrestler. And I remember having an action figure of him back when I was a little bitty juggy. And that is Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff. Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff. What can be said? The man was chiseled out of stone. He had like the perfect wrestling physique. He was like ripped to shreds. His move was sick. Even to this day, the way he delivered the power driver, whoa, you were not getting up from that move. He had a lot of charisma. He could wrestle. I mean, everything about Mr. Wonderful screamed a lot to imitate it, never duplicate it, put it like that. The man was, like I said, ahead of his time. He was very cocky. He was straightforward with you when he said what he was going to do. Of course, he had the narcissistic feel of him, which many wrestlers, of course, copied later on. Just, I'm Mr. Wonderful. I'm the best physique and so forth. The WWF, I feel, should have at least once had the heavyweight title, the WWF title on him, because he was wonderful. He was Mr. Wonderful. He was like the perfect wrestler. And yeah, it's a shame that they never gave him the title. Another wrestler who we go from wonderful to perfect, and I mean Mr. Perfect, Curt Hennig. Curt Hennig, to me, is the all-around wrestler. Charisma, can cut a promo, and can wrestle his ass off. If you guys know about Curt Hennig from the AWA, if you know about Curt Hennig as Mr. Perfect, when he wrestled in the WWF, he was a fucking man. If you saw any of his matches, you knew you were going to have a good match to watch. Curt Hennig, like I said, even when he left the WWF for years, when he came back in 2002 at the Royal Rumble, the people in the crowd shit bricks. It was amazing. Out of all the returns that happened that year, Mr. Perfect was like, what the fuck? And that shows you right there, even at that point in his career, he still was sparking asses. He was getting people talking about him. And I feel like he should have been a WWF champion. Because, come on, man. He's perfect. The other guy that you guys might know, let me give you a hint. Give you a little hint. Give you a little bit of hint. Let's see. I think I can do it. Like this. Everybody's got a price. Exactly. The $1 million man, Ted DiBiase. And the reason, now I know some reason, but technically, no, there's no. The $1 million championship, the way that came to be was Andre the Giant, somehow he won the WWF title. He had the WWF title. DiBiase bought the title. The WWE, Jack Tunney, who was the president of the WWF, said, hell no, strip them of the belt. You can't win a title like that. So DiBiase created the $1 million championship. And that's flawed. But I feel he should have been able to be the world heavyweight champion. Sure, Ted DiBiase was a tag team champion with Earn R. Slicer, but he should have at least been the world champion. Money can't buy you a title. But at the end of the day, $1 Million Man had the charisma, the ability, the skills, the mat wrestling ability to be a heavyweight champion. I don't know, maybe someone was running wild at the time where he couldn't get the belt. But Ted DiBiase definitely deserved to have been the heavyweight champion at least once. And number 1, Hot Rod, Roddy Piper. Roddy Piper. What can be said? This guy was cool before it was cool to be cool. He was an outlaw before Steve Austin. He was the man who loved to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And hands down, through all the years he wrestled in the WWF, he should have had the heavyweight title multiple times. I mean, nowadays it seems like the WWE title itself, and I say WWE now, but it seems like every wrestler can say they've had the title more than 10 times. If you think about it, Edge, Randy Orton, Triple H, John Cena. Hell, John Cena's a 16-time champion. Come on. Back in the day, when you wrestled for a heavyweight title, you didn't just get it every fucking time. You literally would win a title, you might lose it, and you might win it maybe years later. Now you fucking win a title every week. Lose it, and you gain it back a month later or whatever. I feel like this. Roddy Piper, to me, was one of those wrestlers. When it speaks of charisma, Roddy Piper had charisma through and through, bro. If you've seen any of his promos, there's one promo I seen, I don't even think it was in the WWF, but he bust a fucking bottle over his fucking head. And it was a fucking legit bottle. It bust him the fuck open and everything. When the fuck is you gonna see something like that on WWE TV now? Maybe you probably could have saw Dean Ambrose when he was known as John Moxley back in the day do that. But, man, I'm just saying, Roddy Piper should have had the belt multiple times. Mostly to be said with my list is that all these wrestlers had a lot going for themselves. Whether it was politicking or something behind the scenes that stopped them from accomplishing to become the WWF champion, who knows? But I felt that at the end of the day, these wrestlers deserve to be champion at least once because they literally embodied a lot of what the WWF at the time was. And it's a shame that none of these wrestlers got a chance to be the WWF heavyweight champion. And maybe I might do another list, another top 5, because There's a bunch of more wrestlers, trust me, that should have been heavyweight champion. But this is Jughead 82. Slapping that belt.